So Shelby Erectors is a contractor, subcontractor that specializes in reinforcing and metal deck installation, specifically on bridge work. We're a transportation highway contractor working in the southeastern United States, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. In my role, I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Shelby Erectors. So my role is to make sure that I'm maintaining the direction of the company, in charge of the construction operations, make sure that we are meeting the needs of our clients and our employees. So some of the challenges within the construction industry in general are compliance, making sure that you're staying compliant, um, and following regulations and being on top of those regulations, know what they are. All right, so that's one. Two is getting employee buy-in. I would say almost every accident is preventable, right? Injuries are preventable. It's when people don't follow the rules or the procedures that are in place where accidents happen. So it's getting employee buy-in, get them buy into your culture and making sure that the expectation is that they do it right and that they hold each other accountable. Not being afraid to say, hey, you really need to be tied off. And it's not because I'm being an asshole or a jerk. It's because we want you to go home safely at the end of every day. And then, a third thing that we would be challenging with is being able to have accountability, right? Accountability, being able to prove that you did what you're supposed to do and that you're holding people accountable to that. And then, I say something to people all the time. I say, if you didn't follow that up in writing, then it really didn't happen. So unfortunately, in today's day and age, you got to be able to prove that you did what you're saying you're doing. And you got to be holding everybody accountable to that. Prior to Safety Plus, we were tracking things through spreadsheets and collecting paper, because that was back in the days when we still did things by paper. I would say it was very not effective. There wasn't a good path to do it. We were doing our best, but you get missing things, you're missing documents. You really didn't have a good grasp on whether everybody was doing what they're supposed to be doing. By moving to a technology platform like Safety Plus, you're able then to make sure and ensure that everything's getting done. There's a way that, so toolbox talks. We know in the morning that they're done because guess what? It's right there in the system. We have that whole database that tells us whether they're done or not and whether they've answered the questions properly or not. So for us, that's been a big change in how we document and track ourselves, all of our safety training. And not for nothing, the notice is for people that, hey, that training expires. So now we know this person needs to redo that training. Our safety audits. Safety audits were, again, done through an Excel spreadsheet or just on a piece of paper, and people would fill them out. Then, did you know they were getting recorded? Well, were they getting reviewed? And as an owner, I wasn't privy to all that. I relied on a safety manager that may or may not have been doing their job, right? So with Safety Plus, now I have access to all that at my fingertips, and I get to see that dashboard every Monday and go, hey, this looks like it's falling behind, or what happened here. So it holds, again, accountability and record keeping. The record keeping is so much better. And let's say we get an OSHA visit or we get an audit. We need to be able to prove that we're doing what we say we're doing. They're going to ask, first thing that happens, you have an accident, OSHA comes out, they're going to ask for your training records. Here you go. Click of a mouse, we can send them to, and we'll overwhelm them with our training records, right? So it's really been a powerful change in the way we document and are accountable to our safety program and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So with Safety Plus right now, we are using their auditing tools. We're using the toolbox talks. We're tracking all of our training with the LMS. We're using their database for creating some of those trainings. We use bi-monthly company-wide training, like signal person stuff, refresher training. So we're getting all of that through Safety Plus. One of the features that's awesome is these QR codes, and we print hard hat stickers and cards for people. So it's you want to know what their training is. Are they aerial lift trained? Are they, do they have confined space training? Well, you scan their QR code, and this could be anybody from anywhere, any inspector, any contractor. Yep, here's his training records and a picture. Make sure it matches the guy, right? So that's an invaluable tool. You know, you can go, because this happens all the time. Does that guy have the training? Well, scan his QR code. You'll see what his training is, right? So that's another feature that we're using on Safety Plus Web that we love. So the value, that Safety Plus brings to our company is the confidence in knowing that we have the tools to train and to hold accountable our employees, to make sure that they're following the guidelines that we set forth. I mean, right there alone, you got to have confidence in your program, right? So I have full confidence that our tracking and our delivery methods meet our needs and are at the top of the food chain within the construction industry. One of the things I look for in a software technology partner is a company that's not stagnant, that they don't think they've got it figured out, that they understand that technology is changing, especially in today's day and age, right? AI, APIs, these things are things that we need. And so you got to be willing to invest in your product to make sure you're keeping up with technology and what's available and out there. And that may mean changing your entire platform, what it sits on, right? In order to do that, I know Safety Plus is working to that end, and that's important to us, but understand that that's a big deal, because if you fall behind, then there's going to be somebody else that's going to come in and take your spot. All right. So, to me, that's the kind of partners that we're looking for. We're always looking for people that are looking to make their product better. And, not saying, hey, well, this is where we're at and that's good enough. We were working for a long time, and we felt like we were safe. We were checking all the boxes, but I'm not 100% sure we were all bought in, including myself, to where, you grow up in the industry, you accept certain risk, and you say, hey, that's just kind of part of being an iron worker. There's going to be injuries, hopefully they're not serious. But, you kind of accept it as well. This is just the way it is. When you finally get to the point, and for me, it was when we had a fatality, and it was a friend of mine that worked for us that had been friends with me, worked with me when I had my tools on. And it was a preventable accident. When you finally get to the point as the person that makes the ultimate decisions, that says, this isn't okay, we can be better, then that's what shapes your mindset. And all of a sudden you start taking a different role, position. Listen, there's people who work with you in the field and say, well, I remember what you used to do. Yeah, well, that's not an excuse anymore. We don't do that. Yes, we did stupid stuff. We're not allowed to do that. But my reasoning is, I'm not going to allow somebody else to not make it home from when I just, if I can control it, right? I can't hold their hand the entire way, but I could sure as hell make sure that I'm not giving them any excuses to not do things right in the right way. And I will never compromise on that. If there's a question of whether it's a safety infraction, my people know this. We've gone through this several times. Stop work. I don't care what the consequences are. It doesn't matter. We're not putting our people at risk, and I will go to bat to you. The only caveat that I tell them is, I said, don't cry wolf, and don't make me put in a position where you're not correct. You better be right. Okay. That's the only thing I ask. Make sure you're right. And then I will go to bat for you, and I will go to war with whoever it is that tells me, that we're wrong. Okay. But we've got to make sure we're right.